the US in the modern era has made three big bets on China, and all of them have backfired. The story starts with Richard Nixon, his 1972 opening to China. He goes to China with Henry Kissinger, and they're looking for a strategic partner as a counterbalance to the Soviet Union. And it works pretty well until the Soviet Union collapses, and then the bottom falls out of the US-China relationship. And later in life, Richard Nixon, he tells his biographer that he's worried that, as he put it, we may have created a Frankenstein, this geopolitical superpower that is completely out of US control. And he was actually worried that the US and China one day might go to war. So then you fast forward to Bill Clinton. In 2001, Bill Clinton brings China into the World Trade Organization. And he has a very good rationale for this too, which is that he believes that greater engagement through trade, investment, and all kinds of other ways between the United States and China will lead to a more liberal China. And this backfires as well. What happens is that it fast tracks China's rise as an economic superpower, manufacturing and industrial colossus. And far from encouraging liberal opening in China, China ends up being run by rigid authoritarians. So now we get to Donald Trump. And he comes in 2016, and it is a very different America, and views of the United States in America have changed. That economic engagement with China has led to hollowing out of US industry. It's led to devastation across US factory towns and joblessness. And so he wants to unwind the engagement with China. So he attempts a strategy which the Chinese interpreted as a strategy of containment, tariffs, sanctions, tech embargoes, all designed to keep China down. Actually, his main motivation was to do something about the US, a huge US trade imbalance with China. But the hardliners around him, the China hawks around him, had a much, much broader interpretation of policy. They really do want to stop China's rise as a technological power. This too backfires. And, you see this most dramatically in the way it plays out with Huawei technology. So in his first term, President Trump really wants to drive a stake through Huawei's heart. He applies incredible pressure, but counterintuitively, the more pressure he applies, it gives added momentum to Huawei's rise. So it's now not just the world's largest and probably best supplier of telecommunications gear, it's also created its entire AI ecosystem with software, with data centers, and Huawei's own chips. The more Trump puts pressure on China, Chinese President Xi Jinping has more and more incentive to invest faster and faster in the tech sector. And the faster he does that, and the more successful China becomes, that emboldens him to push back hard against all of Trump's hardline economic coercion. The final straw is that President Xi, the Chinese leader, decides to impose curbs, very strict curbs on exports of Chinese rare earths. And these rare earths go into just about everything, every high-tech product made in the world, from defense, drones, cars, robotics, you name it. So this threatens to shut down huge swaths of US industry. It is that pressure. It is the sense of a China that is emboldened as it sees itself less and less reliant on US technology, more and more independent. That is what led to the trade truce that we just saw signed in South Korea this week. So where we are now is in a fragile truce. As a matter of fact, both countries, the United States and China, are technological superpowers, and both have the ability to do immense damage to the other. But it is a fragile truce. It's a truce that could unravel in a heartbeat and very possibly will do so. But here's the other thing. The US is making a fourth big bet, and that bet is industrial policy, what we refer to as Chinese state capitalism. The idea is that you're going to beat China at its own game by investing in directly government investing in industry. The Trump administration has taken a 10% stake in Intel by, for instance, taking a profit from projected sales of NVIDIA semiconductors to China, this kind of thing. Economists warn that this is a really risky gambit, that industrial policy runs the risk of misallocating capital, of producing inferior goods and services, of stifling innovation, and ultimately slowing growth. And if the history of US policy toward China is any guide, industrial policy as a wager isn't going to work out very well either. Tap the link in our bio to read more and sign up for Semafor China.